Bye.
Testing. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank goodness we have air conditioning. My name is Joanne Koch. I'm one of the guidance counselors, and I have two of my colleagues here with me. This is Mrs. Walton and Ms. Jackadine, and we actually are the college counselors. We are missing Mrs. Meyer tonight, but we'll cover for her. And what we want to do tonight is really pile a lot of information at you in the next hour or so, and then we're going to open it up for any questions or discussion, that presents itself. The one thing I wanted to mention before I hand it over to Mrs. Walton to begin was those ABC of college planning books we gave you are unbelievable. They're such a valuable resource. We are aware of the date. They are expired, but the information, a lot of it is not timely, so it's fine. It's fine from year to year. The only thing that is timely on there I want you to be aware of is that there's an SAT versus ACT page. That information is now obsolete because the SAT has since, as of January this year, introduced a new test. So actually in March this year. January was the last time this year they had their old test. March is a brand new test. So on that one page, I think it's in the 40s somewhere, it indicates changes between the ACT and the SAT. Those aren't really relevant anymore because the SAT has now some of those changes that are listed there make that erroneous there. So just ignore that page. Everything else, though, is very valuable information that doesn't matter regarding the date. Okay? So without any further ado, I am going to present Mrs. Walton to begin. And we're going to kind of be pretty informal. We're going to kind of interrupt each other, as we always do, and go back and forth. And if you do come up with a question in between that that doesn't want to wait, feel free to raise your hand. We might ignore you, but feel free to raise your hand. But also, Also, we encourage you to please take notes on the handouts that we gave you. Jot everything down. And the one thing I do want to say too, if you do come up with any questions or concerns, please email us or give us a call in the next week or so or tomorrow. Anything that does come up from this that you think about or you bring home if your child's not here. Everybody has our emails. That's really the best way to get in contact with us. We all have our own phone extensions, so just feel free to give us a call too. We will be meeting with all the seniors. I told them on the first day of school, we had a meeting with them, and we told them all that we would be meeting with them individually. In the next couple of weeks, we'll be going over graduation requirements, making sure they have everything they need for graduation, and discussing the whole future plan. So we will be seeing them, within the next month. By the beginning of November, everybody would have been seen individually. But again, please reach out to us with any questions prior to that. Without any further ado.
So far, our impression of the class of 2017 is that we have a group of students that is very on task with their college applications. We've had a lot of students already into guidance. They're talking to teachers, asking for letters of recommendation. I've had a lot of calls from parents trying to put this all together. That's really what tonight is all about, is helping you put the whole process together and sort of seeing all the pieces and how they fit. Naviance is a program that we've been using with the students since they were in sophomore year, maybe even possibly freshman year. We've begun to use it with freshmen as well. It is a program that we use for many reasons here. They're listed on this particular page in the handout, but I want to actually show you the program. Ms. Jackadine's going to log me in. Every student has a unique login. Every student has an account. It is possible for parents to get their own login to connect to their student's account. If you want to be able to access your student's account, you can contact the counselor and we will establish a parent login for you, or you can just ask your kid what their login is and then you can both have access. It works, it's connected all to the same account. This is the home page when you initially log in. There is a lot of information here for you that we just wanted to be sure to point out to you. There are links to specific bits of information over here on the left. Specifically, there is a link that brings you to NJ Stars. Anybody who's ranked in the top 15% of their high school class can attend community college for free of charge. There's a page on that. There's a link that brings you directly to the NCAA Eligibility Center. If you are interested in college athletics, the link is there. The guidance newsletter can be accessed. College open houses, we're going to show you that link later. We try to put information here. As information comes into us that we think is useful, we post it to this program. So we always encourage you to look in. We're going to talk to you about scholarships later on in Naviance. This is a program that you should be logging in throughout the senior year, certainly well into March and April. This program will be useful to both the student and the parent. Over on the side of the page, there's updates. These are little notes that we put in. There's an upcoming mini college fair here at High Point. There's an evening college fair at Vernon. We have special information here about Rutgers. Sometimes we'll put special bulletins about particular schools. We try to load in as much as we can here. There's a link here that brings you to career planning websites. And then also at the top of this page, there is a careers tab. If you just click into that. We're not focusing on this tonight. Tonight's emphasis is on the application to college process. But we are aware that there are still a number of seniors who are struggling with what they want to study in college and what they want to do after college. The resources and certain tools to help students with that are available in Naviance. When we meet individually with your children, if that is a particular issue for them, we'll explore that in depth with them when we're with them. But if you want to take a look at that at home, there are a few different careers tools. There's inventories, quizzes they can take that will maybe help them define what their goals and their interests are. Okay? We're going to talk about the colleges tab throughout the evening. We're going to keep coming back to this program because it is an integral part of several of the different aspects that we work with the students on their college applications. So you'll be seeing this throughout the night. Okay?
I think Mrs. Koch is back up. Thank you so much. Okay. As far as college searching is concerned, we want to talk about, obviously, first step, college searching, and then visiting, and then applying. A lot of you have done your college searches. How many of you have done college searches on Naviance or College Board? Quite a few. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to quickly go over just to show you, if you look on, like one of the search engines is College Board. And you've gone to College Board, go to College Search, and what it does is it just pulls up this pretty cool screen. And this is so true. There are 3,843 colleges. I mean, you can't visit all those, so you need to search. And these are obviously some of the criteria that we utilize when we're narrowing down. Okay, obviously two of the biggest ones are location, and often majors. Location is pretty key. Majors is difficult because some of you don't know your majors, or majors often change. But location is very important. My colleague's going to be upset. Can I tell Aunt Betty? Aunt Rose? Okay. I always talk about a story that, a lot of kids come in and they're going to go to California or Hawaii. They're going to go far, far away, and that's all well and good. But I always tease and say when it's Aunt Rose or Aunt Betty's 80th birthday, you're not coming home for that. So you have to think about that. Mrs. Walton's son is 12 hours away, so it's difficult for him to come home, except he'd have to come home for his mother's birthday. But it's very difficult for that. You have to think about that. A lot of our students are within like that 4-hour radius. They seem to have that little bit of freedom, but if they want to come home for homecoming or to see their girlfriend or boyfriend or Aunt Betty, they're able to get home. So that's a big, big, big thing you have to think about, and that certainly adds to the expense if you're having to fly out each time or drive out each time. Okay, so those are ways to narrow it down. We're going to look at another one is College Match. You can go on and put in things and it'll tell you how close it's a match to what you're looking for. So it's amazing the amount of time. We always tease the seniors, any of our kids, we tease them and tell them that you could spend, there's no need to be on all that other social media. This is all you need. You could spend forever on Naviance, but it'll just tell you a little bit about the school. What we like on this is really, and it's helpful for these kids now, because we're in our 5th year of Naviance, so we're beginning to be able to use what's called these scattergrams, they call them. And what we're able to do now is utilize our own students, because very often when colleges are accepting or rejecting students, they're comparing them, they're looking within our own school, because it's really not fair to compare students, from a school that offers a lot more courses or a lot less courses. So they're looking within the school. So we can look here and we can say, wow, this is Rowan University, a pretty popular choice for our students. Because again, it's like 3 hours away, they can still come home, out suburban, it's a little outside of Philly, so it works out well for a lot of our kids. 19 of them applied last year, 14 were admitted, 3 chose to enroll. So it's really cool to see how popular a lot of schools are among our own students. And then this is really neat. What this shows you, it tells you all the kids, what their, obviously it doesn't tell you who the kid was, but it tells you what their grade point average was and what their SAT score was, whether they were accepted or rejected. So that, again, every year is different depending upon the applicant pool, but it's really neat to get an idea of that. In the past, we haven't been able to utilize this because we didn't have statistics for it, but now we're keeping track of statistics. So if you look at Princeton, we were looking at that, obviously we haven't had as many students apply there, but there's a few more red X's there as opposed to green boxes, which we would expect. However, if you look, can we pull up that little, where's that little, I want to show them how many students, so we have 1 student. Yeah, I was just going to say real quick, can you go back to the bottom there? And there you go. So look at the difference between Rowan and between Princeton. 2016, we had 3 students apply, 1 admitted and 1 enrolled. So we do have a student at Princeton. 2015, we had 1 admitted, but they chose to go somewhere else. 2014, we didn't have any luck. 2013, we also have a student there. So we do have 2 students at Princeton as we speak right now. But so it's just really neat to be able to look at that, okay? And then we want to show you, that's it really it, yeah, that's it, yeah. Okay, so then we want to go on to college visits, right, college visits. College visits, open houses, mini college fair. Visit, visit, visit. You don't buy a pair of shoes, you don't get a pair of pants without trying them on. So you've got to get out there. You're going to spend the next 4 years at this campus. You need to be comfortable. And a lot of times, you set foot in a campus and you're like, I hated it. That's good. I'm glad you went there, okay? Or I loved it. I just saw myself there. So many kids come back and tell us that, so it's worth a trip. We often tell you too, just even if you're not interested in the school, go. Tag along with a sibling. Obviously it's late for you guys now, you're seniors, but we've told them all, tag along with someone. Get an idea of what a college campus is like. All the different living facilities there are. You can have a bathroom at the end of the hall, a bathroom in there. Is there a number of meals I can buy? Is there just one cafeteria? So much to take into consideration. Get to an open house. Right here, if you click on here, it'll take you to get there. The fall is an awesome time to visit. Go visit a school. There's all the Jersey schools, and you'll notice a lot of them are through October. There's TCNJ is next weekend. That's all right, I just saw that next weekend. They often have 2 or 3 in the fall and then the spring for our juniors. So get out there and visit, just take a look, just talk to the students, go to the library, ask about their policies, procedures, the cars, anything, what you need to know. There's also, we tell our students, 4 days. 4 days you can visit schools and be excused, okay? But you do have to bring us some kind of a notification that you were visiting the school. But you can go, I told them the other day, you have to check the East website, but if I recall, East Stroudsburg, you could just go to East Stroudsburg, which is like 45 minutes away, and go stand at the cafeteria at 1 o'clock, and they run tours every day. Okay, again, check that because I haven't looked that up in a while. Rutgers, every day, they run a bus tour at I think it's 1 o'clock. They take a bus tour around the entire campus, And that's just something. Speaking of Rutgers, do you want a campus with 30 or 40,000 students, or do you want a campus with 80 students? There's schools out there with 80 students, and there's schools out there with 60 or 70,000 students. So that's a big factor in narrowing down as well, okay? Oh yeah, and the last thing, and we mentioned this to the seniors the other day when we had them here, over 50 schools, closer to 60, will be in attendance on Tuesday, October 18th, period 3, period 3, block 2, in the cafeteria. So we will be having all the reps there. Please show up with questions. We'll be giving you more information. You're going to get passes and come down out of your classes for a half an hour. And the reps will be there to give you information. Come with questions. For moms and dads, the night before, Monday the 17th, Vernon has a college fair. Over 200 schools are there, and they have financial aid information. So that's for you. So if you can make it to Vernon, that's why we kind of piggyback off them, because a lot of the reps just spend the night and come to us. So if you can get there, that's great. William Patterson, I know, also holds one. We don't have information on that right now. And CCN may hold one. Yeah, so if it's not, it's what? On a weekend, yeah, so if you kind of Google that too, it's not out there yet, but you may find, we might put that, advertise that. CCM Summits has a big college fair, as does William Patterson. So, but again, you can find that information once it's available, okay? And I'm going to now hand it over to Mrs. Walton, who's going to put it all together.
When you complete your application, the information that the school receives about you to review will come from 3 different places. The application, the essay, the fee, they will all come from your house, from your computer, okay? You will submit that directly to the college. And we're going to talk about applications and essays in greater detail. But that part of the process, that belongs to you and your family. Part 2 are your test scores. They come from either College Board or ACT, okay? You have to request them, okay? But they are sent from the testing agency to the colleges you are applying to. And again, when we talk more about testing in depth, we'll talk about how to send scores, when to send scores. It gets a little tricky. The third piece is your transcript, your senior schedule or grades, depending on timing, letters of recommendation, counselor, teacher evaluations. That makes up the rest of the information that colleges are interested in. And those pieces come from us. Your counselor will send them, okay? Again, we're going to talk about Naviance, okay? Naviance is going to be the platform that we use to submit everything. Okay? I remember maybe it was only 5 years ago when a student would come to me and say, I'm going to be applying to these 10 schools and I would have a pile of photocopies of all their information this big that I would be dealing out into 10 piles on the floor of my office and packing envelopes and shipping things out. Now when a student says, I want to apply to 10 colleges, it's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, down to 10 clicks on my computer and it's done. It's completely electronic and contained within this system. Our teachers know how to upload letters, okay? We upload letters, it all somehow happens. It's completely out of your control and you don't actually see any of it, but it is there and you will be able to monitor the submission status of your application materials from the backside. We're going to show you a little bit in the Naviance program tonight, but we will show the students in great detail when we meet with them. And students, I'm going to say this to you, and I'm saying it to you in front of your parents. Parents, please bug them. When they are in the heat of the application process, they just need to be in our office as often as they need to be there. If they need to come down every day, then they need to come down every day. If you discover a problem that you're not sure how to fix when you're working in the evening, come down to your counselor's office the next morning. I recommend that students fire me off an email right at the moment. Take a screenshot, put it in an email, and send it to me. I usually am able to we all get in the morning and spend some time answering emails and going through what came in overnight. And during the months of September, October, and November, there's oodles of application questions. You're gonna have them, you're gonna feel a little at odds with the process. We are here to help you through it, okay? So I wanna go into Naviance for just a second and show you a little bit. We're gonna go to the Colleges tab. This is a fake student. She's just a creation, so we can use this to show you. I don't know if she's applying anywhere yet. What does colleges I'm applying to say? I forget where I set her up. Oh, she has some colleges, okay? So we asked students, would you go back to colleges I'm thinking about? We asked students last year when we were meeting with them as juniors to really populate the colleges I'm thinking about list. That was their summer homework for guidance. Come back with a nice list of colleges you're thinking about. If, as you decide that you're going to apply to a college, you can take it from that list, you can click on it, and then you can move to the application list. And then it shows up. Go ahead and move it. And now if we go to the colleges I'm applying to page, just go to the page. Now we can see Ramapo is here as well. We are going to work off this page significantly throughout the process. You and your parent, I'm speaking to the students, you are the primary person responsible for this. You and your parent who is assisting you should be working primarily off this page. What is the information that's available to you here? The first thing that it's going to do is it's going to talk to you about the way in which the college accepts information. You'll notice University of Delaware has a little computer monitored icon there that says CA. That stands for Common Application. It's the only application they accept, so it's definitely how we're going to be transmitting information. Binghamton, Ramapo, and William Patterson have little question marks in the computer monitor. If we click on I'm not sure yet, it'll bring me to a page where I can tell Naviance how I'm going to apply. Schools that have that little question mark accept both the Common Application and their own application. Which one is better? Neither. Both. It doesn't matter. Schools that accept both equally. For any of you who have begun working on the Common Application, it's a big project. So if you are applying only to 1 or 2 schools that accept the Common Application, and they also have their own separate application, you may want to consider just using that. It would be time-saving. Doing 2 individual applications might be quicker than 1 common application. So we want you to be in and looking at that and making those decisions. Back to the colleges I'm applying to page. The other thing that it does here is it tells you these computer monitors mean that the colleges accept electronic transmissions. Rutgers has a postage stamp here. And it's there for a different reason. Rutgers doesn't accept electronic transcripts at all. The application process for Rutgers is very different. On the home page that I showed you earlier, there is a link with a full set of instructions, and we'll talk more about Rutgers as well. But for the most part, there are very few schools, but there are a couple who still want the guidance office to mail our information to them. Your application, however, will be submitted electronically. We can't think of a school anymore that does a paper application. You will apply online, and almost entirely, we will submit the information online. You will make transcript requests through this program, and we will teach the students how to do it. Also, in the handout packet that you got tonight, you got a blue sheet. There was a single blue sheet. Everybody has a copy of the transcript request form. These are plentifully available in the guidance office. Students need to complete the form in order to request a transcript. They request the transcript both in the Naviance program so that the counselor can work with their information in there, and then they also fill out the blue form, sign it, giving us permission to release their information, and they hand the form to the counselor. My students, I tell them I expect that blue piece of paper under my nose so I know you need me to do something on your behalf. The communication between the student and the counselor as we're putting this process together is extremely important, and we've tried to put the pieces in place to make that happen. Okay? As always, if they have questions, if they're not sure, they just come down and ask, and we guide them to the next step. But that blue piece of paper is an important part of how we know it's our turn to send our piece. I met with a mom yesterday, and her question was, how does everything arrive at the same time? How do we know everything's going to arrive at the same time? It's never going to arrive at the same time. You're submitting the application, College Board or ACT is sending test scores, and I'm submitting the rest of your information through an online portal. It's going to arrive at the school at different times. That is not a problem, okay? You'll be able to monitor it to some extent. You'll have an account at the school which will tell you they have or have not received things. Can I put in the plea right now? They are chronically behind with updating those portals, and we get many panicked phone calls. They don't have my transcript yet, you know, and yes they do. But please, be looking, be asking, be calling the school, ask your counselor to call the school. We're happy to always track everything down for you. But we have to usually do a fair amount of convincing to help everybody believe that the process does all come together.
But yeah, please be so careful with that. We have had issues with that where I've had students accepted to colleges and I'm getting letters saying you don't have their transcript yet. So it's really great, and you know, very often you'll get, they'll get an email on Friday before vacation saying that they don't have a transcript, that, it wasn't sent, and people are like, bad mouth at us, and it's been sent, and it hasn't been updated. So please don't get upset, just check with us. We can let you know via Naviance exactly when it's been sent. It can be sent, but it just takes them a while. They've got tons and tons of applications, so it can take a while for those applications, the transcripts to show up.
One other point that I just want to make, we ask for the students to make the request to us 10 days before the deadline. We don't want anybody applying by the deadline. We don't want any applications going in on the day they're due, the day before they're due. It's an incredibly important part of this process to us that things are done early. And your counselor is working on, dozens of students' applications and may need time. When you put that request in, your counselor may still have to write your letter. Your counselor may still have to track down a teacher who's written the letter. There's things that have to come into place. And honestly, we always sort of made the joke, hey, there could be a hurricane. But if you recall, a few years ago, school was closed for a week at the beginning of November, and we were in a panic about applications because we weren't working on stuff. So, you literally don't know what could happen, and you don't want timing to ever be the reason why you missed an opportunity. So please, be well ahead of all deadlines. It helps us to help you better, and it gives you a better handle on the process.
And it shows the college that you have a little more, that you're on top of things. If you're getting it in right at, the deadline is that day, and you're getting 11:59 p.m., you're submitting it. I made it. It doesn't show as much about you as if, you were a little more timely about it.
So we're going to look at each of these things in more detail. Ms. Jackie Dean's going to talk about applications.
I just want to piggyback one thing on the deadlines and submissions and what happens when your information goes out there into cyberspace and we're waiting for the college to download it from the program. There are deadlines that are close to the holiday break. Colleges end in December, and a lot of students wind up having like a month off in between their semesters. What I found, and I don't know if Mrs. Koch and Mrs. Wallen have seen the same thing, but if your deadline is in December and it's right around the time that the college admissions office is closed, and then you start panicking because you're seeing that on your college site, your application site, that your material hasn't all arrived. Well, a lot of that is because it's fallen during a time where the admissions office isn't open. And then they come back from their break and they've got thousands and thousands of applications that they need to download, transcripts they need to download. So a lot of times that's where the delay comes in. My suggestion to you is if you're looking at schools that have a December deadline or a January 1st deadline, which none of us can figure out why anything is January 1st, don't send it close to that time. Send it earlier so you know that there are people in the office, and chances are your information is going to be brought in faster than if it arrives over that break time. Going into applying to schools, the majority of the schools at this point in time require students to apply electronically. That is our suggestion to you. If you come across some school that says you can still mail in a paper application, our suggestion is not to do that. Send it electronically. It's neater, it's faster. Generally, you can work on the application over a period of time. Our one suggestion would be if you submit applications electronically, most times you can still print off a hard copy of that application. Our suggestion is that you do that so you have one copy for your records. Once your application is submitted, you cannot go back and make any changes. But if there's some weird thing that happens and there's a question on your application, if you've got that hard copy, you can easily go through and look to see how you might have answered a particular question. The importance of biographical information. One year, I had a student who took their SATs and then applied for a school, I think it was a school in Boston, and the school kept saying they didn't have their SATs, but we knew they were sent. So I called the admissions office and found out that even though the student had the same address, they thought it was two different people because they listed their name differently from when they took the SAT and how they put it on their application. For example, my name is Kristen. If I did Kristen R. Jackadine on my college board when I'm writing or registering for my SATs, and then I apply for college and I put Kristen Jackadine, the school may think I'm two different people, even though my address is the same. And really, there are not a lot of Jackadines around in the world. And if you come across one, chances are they're related to me. So when most of you should have, yes, taken the SAT at least once, if not twice. Seniors, raise your hands. Let's see. Okay. Be mindful of how you registered for your SAT, how you put your name. If you included a middle initial, when you begin applying for your colleges, use that middle initial. You want things to match so that you can avoid potential problems like that.
This is where we were going to do a little sample about people's final education.
Yes. So, anybody yell out of school? Ramapo? So we're pulling up Ramapo on here. You're going to go to the admissions webpage.
I found apply.
Or apply. It would be under admissions or apply. You are an undergraduate. And you are a freshman. So every school is going to look a little differently, but usually you can find that information under undergraduate, freshman, apply. When you pull that up, you'll see Ramapo uses the Common Application, which we'll get to in a second, and that's all they use. Or they use their own application as well. How many of you know what the Common App is? Just raise your hands. Okay. Those of you that don't. Carolyn, do you know? Okay. The Common Application, sorry,
That's all Miss Jack can do.
Okay, but I passwords on everything I do. Okay, so the Common App, in short, basically, the Common Application is a universal application that's used by different colleges and universities throughout the country. Basically, it's a time saver. If you're applying to 6 schools, and let's say 5 of those schools allow you to use the Common Application, you're filling out one application that's now being sent to those schools. So it saves you a little bit of time. Ramapo is giving you a choice. You can do the Common App, or you can do their own application. What I generally advise to students is look at what your other colleges are asking you to do. If you're not applying to any other Common App school, but Ramapo gives you that choice, then you can do the work of the Common App if you want, or you can just fill out Ramapo's application. I have seen sometimes that the school application is actually less work than the Common Application. So if you find yourself in that weird position where the Common App is only going one place and you have a choice, then I would do the school one. So on the Common App, you would set up an account for yourself. Make sure you keep track of your information because that is not something we have in guidance. So if you set up a Common App account and you've forgotten how to log in, don't come to your counselor and ask because we have nothing to do with that part of the process.
And Common App does not have a telephone.
They do not. Everything is via email. So if you have Common App and you need to use that account, keep track of your login information. So you come. So as you can see, I've selected some of my schools. Any of the schools that you're applying to using the Common App, they're all going to show up on the dashboard. How you find the schools is you go over to the college search, yell out a school name. Any name? What was it? NJIT. NJIT. So you would type it in. Hit search. There it is. So you're going to click on it, click add, my colleges. Now you'll see it showed up in the dashboard. So when you're looking at your dashboard, so we have NJIT, you see 3 sections up there: questions, recommenders, and FERPA, review, and submit Common App. The questions is applying to specific things within the Common App. Some of these fields will actually begin filling in your actual application. So when you're in the Common App, you'll have the different schools that are listed in your dashboard, and then you'll begin filling out your application, which is actually filling it in for all your schools. Where you have to be careful is some schools also have their own questions and their own writing supplement. Okay? So this is one of those places. So if you want to know if your school is requiring something in addition to the application, you're going to see it under your dashboard. If you go to Princeton, you can see that top section is applying to general stuff. These are specific to Princeton. That is part of your application. So you can submit your full college application, but if you have supplemental forms, which is what those are, you're going to see them in your dashboard, and you need to make sure that is done in addition to your application. Otherwise, your package isn't going to be considered complete. The supplemental forms are generally only seen if you're using the Common Application. If we go back to Ramapo and you just use Ramapo's application, they're not going to have a supplemental form. It's only with the use of the Common App, and you're not going to find it with every school. So Franklin Pierce, which was another one up on my dashboard, that doesn't have any supplemental forms. Okay?
You want to show the FERPA?
Yep. So the FERPA here, it stands for the Federal Education Rights to Privacy Act. Have any of you heard of this before? If you have older siblings, you might. Anybody? Okay. So basically, before we actually are able to submit information for you through your Naviance account, that's your transcript, your letters of recommendation, when you're filling out the Common App and using that, you have to complete this agreement. Now you're only going to do it one time. So if you're applying to 6 schools that are using the Common Application, this only needs to be filled out once. Basically what it is asking you is it's telling you what your rights are as a student and whether or not you want to waive your rights to see information that we submit to the college on your behalf. Basically, it's your transcript and your letters of recommendation. Most colleges prefer to see that you waive your rights to see that information. Their feeling is, well, what do you have to hide? Why do you want to see that letter that you've asked for somebody to write on your behalf before time? So they're not going to penalize you if you choose not to waive your rights. Okay? It is truly your choice. You answer it however you feel best. But once that is done and it's submitted, you're filling it out once in the Common App, that allows us then to forward your information without a problem.
You want to mention that the invite recommenders they won't do.
Right. Common Application, because it's a universal application, sometimes it asks for more than what the individual college would ask for. So we're going to talk about letters of recommendation in a little bit, but you'll see that there's a part of that on your Common App. Ignore it. We don't use that part of the Common Application for your letters of recommendation. We are going to use your Naviance account, and that is how we invite your teachers to upload their letters and how we actually submit them. So when you see it there, just ignore it. It's not going to impact your application in any way.
Should I go here? Should I show that on the nominating? Should I have that here?
Something a little new with Naviance this year is that in order for you to invite your teachers to upload their letters of recommendation, you actually have to have schools listed in your colleges I'm applying to panel. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Now, we'll jump ahead, I guess, on the screens. When,
I was just writing this up. No, I was requesting a letter.
We always
So-
do that stage, I'm sorry. See what she's doing? She's writing Mrs. Sutton a note. So you don't ever want, that's the least you want to do. We actually ask the students to really try and approach the teacher, personally and request a recommendation letter from them. But sometimes it is difficult for them to find them because a lot of times it's not a teacher you have right now because the teachers that you had last year obviously they're going to know you a lot more than the teachers who just started teaching you this year. It might be a teacher from freshman year or sophomore year. So there might be a time where you might not be able to see them. So you often, we ask everybody, thanks for Sutton, please remember I'm applying by November 1st. And then you might want to say a couple things about them, on there so they do see that. Otherwise, they just get an email saying so-and-so has requested, and they don't get any information about that.
Also, where is it?
Okay.
Mention the yellow sheet.
Oh, the yellow sheet.
Yeah.
And also, that's true. The yellow sheet that we gave you, when you ask a teacher to write a letter, it's very helpful for that teacher to get that yellow piece of paper. Because we ask you to fill it, especially if it's a teacher who hasn't had you for a year or so. There's just some very helpful information they could utilize as they write their letter of recommendation. So that's often a way too, to approach a teacher. I filled this out. Would you be able to write me a letter of recommendation? This information is going to be helpful for you as you write that letter. Because often, a letter of recommendation recommendation, it doesn't, we don't like it just to have your GPA, your rank, all your courses. They can see that from a transcript, okay? The schools can see that. So we like the letters of recommendation to tell a little bit more about it. How are you in the classroom? Were you a leader? What did you bring to the classroom to make that classroom better? What are you going to bring to the college to make that a better place? So those are things that teachers like to have that information so they can use that as they write their letter.
So we're going to jump ahead a little bit since we started talking about letters of recommendation. As Mrs. Koch said, you want to begin thinking about, if you haven't already, about who you want to ask letters from. Every college that requires or highly suggests letters of recommendation will have a different amount that they'll accept. Most times they'll tell you one letter should at least come from a teacher, and sometimes they will require that a letter come from the guidance counselor. If our letter is required, it's not always counted in the total amount of letters that they'll receive. They kind of view them a little bit differently or separate. So you have your teachers, coaches, advisors, employers, whoever in mind of who you want to ask your letters. You are to ask them first in person. If there's nothing that aggravates a teacher is if they just get an electronic request from somebody and then they come to us and they say, this person asked me for a letter, but they never asked me in person. You need to physically ask them and get their yes. I'll be more than happy to write you a letter of recommendation. Once your teacher says yes, then there's this yellow form that you also received in your packet that you can fill out and give to your teacher, and that's just basically giving them some information about how you may have felt about their class or just general things about you as a student. That's to help them put and form their letter together. Once that is done and your teacher, we're going to take questions after. Once that is done and you've asked and you've gotten your forms out, then you're basically going to go into your Naviance account and you can request that your teachers send their letter through you, through the account. In order for us to send your letters, they have to be uploaded to Naviance. And in order for them to be uploaded, that email request that you saw Mrs. Walton filling out to Mrs. Sutton, that's the invite. That's the link that the teacher gets from you that enables them to upload their letter into your account. Now, you will see what teachers you've invited. You will see what the status is. If it's just happened, you'll see an in progress listed next to your name. So it's been requested. And then once the letter is up, it should reflect something like it's been submitted or in progress. Yeah, this is a little new. What you won't be able to see is the letter itself. So your page as a student is just going to reflect this. You'll know when the letter is there, but the letter itself is something only we can view on the counselor page of Naviance. When we go back to the FERPA, if you have not waived your rights, then you can go to your teacher, so you can go to Mrs. Sutton and say, may I have a copy of my letter of recommendation? We won't provide it to you, but the teacher can. Okay? Technically, if you've waived your rights, you're not really supposed to get your letter, although I can tell you that some people will still give it to you if you ask them.
The other thing you need to do too, along with letters of recommendation from teachers, many request a letter of recommendation from the guidance counselor. For that, we don't give you a paper, but we ask that you go onto the About Me tab and you complete this questionnaire. And that helps us quite a bit as well because it shows us a little bit more, than just what we've talked to you about. We can get a lot more information about you and your future goals. So we ask you to complete that as well. So for the teachers, it's the yellow piece of paper, and for the guidance counselor, it's the About Me tab on Naviance.
And you don't have to request us the same way you're requesting your teachers. So if we're writing you a letter, we have the ability to automatically upload our letter without that electronic invite. Real quick, we're going to run back to the applications. We mentioned before about the Rutgers application and the SRAR. There's a link to get to that on your front page of your Naviance account. Rutgers is an electronic application. They use their own application, and as it was mentioned before, they do not ask for transcripts from us. So if you are applying to Rutgers, all you are doing is you are completing their application, and then you're going to complete what's called the SRAR. It's basically a self-report of your grades. So you can ask us for a copy of your transcript because you will need that to enter this information. Rutgers application, SRAR, those are the two things you're going to complete through their website, and then you have to request your test scores to be sent from your testing agency, whether it's College Board or the ACT. That is all Rutgers is going to ask for you. Finally, application fees and waivers. When you start visiting your colleges, whether it's on an open house or another just visit during the week, some schools may give you an application fee waiver, which means you don't have to pay that $50 plus in some cases when you submit your application, whether it's through the school website or through Common App. If you receive, if you are on a free and reduced lunch, then you can come speak with your guidance counselor about getting a fee waiver for those colleges. Also, sometimes schools will say if you apply by a certain deadline, your fee is waived. There's all kinds of things out there. In order to find that out, you get it at a visit or you'll see it on their website.
Thank you. The one thing just before I go on to my section here, for Rutgers, you know, a lot of kids say, oh good, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to say that I got an A in all these courses and I got all these different grades. Obviously, you have to be very honest and very specific. It has to be a direct correlation between your transcript and what you're reporting, because Rutgers at the end of the year obviously requests a final transcript from us. And then we do submit that final transcript. And unfortunately, Rutgers has had to renege on a few students who didn't exactly tell the entire truth about all their grades. So we obviously encourage you to do that as correctly as you can, because they will accept a final transcript from us. So that's when we'll send that transcript over. Admission plans. Okay, so now when do I apply? Some students have already applied, okay? There are several different admission plans, and you're going to be seeing this as you're looking on Naviance and going on websites. You'll be seeing lots of different plans. There's a regular decision. Basically, you apply by the deadline, and you receive a notification. You know, the deadline to apply is December 1st. You will be notified by February 1st. Early decision, that is binding. You are filling out a contract with the school. What you are telling the school is, if I get accepted to your school, I am going to attend. Okay, you're in essence entering into a contract with them via applying early decision. Okay, you can only apply to one school early decision because you can only go to one school. Some schools will say you can only apply here, you can't apply anywhere else. Others will say you can apply other places, but obviously if you're accepted to our school, you've entered into an agreement with us and you will be attending our school. Okay, so that's only a decision. You have to be very, very confident in your choice about that, and often you have to make that decision without any financial aid knowledge either, because it's before that time. Early action is the same as early decision. If you're applying early, you can apply by like October 1st or November 1st, and they will notify you by December 15th. But it's not binding. It's just that you are, you know, showing interest. You're showing that you're very enthusiastic about that school. You're applying early, but it's non-binding. You don't have to attend there if you are accepted. And then rolling admissions, basically, a lot of them are rolling as your application rolls in. Bloomsburg is like that. We'll have kids that get accepted to Bloomsburg in like 3 weeks. As they roll in, they make a decision and they roll them back out. Your Ivy League schools, they often gather together like on April 1st and they all sit together, so that their notification date is usually April 15th. Okay, so it basically depends upon the school and their plan. May 1st is the national, that's the National College Decision Day. Everybody you have to commit by May 1st. That's actually a day, I hope that's actually a day during the week, because everybody wears their sweatshirts or t-shirts that day, all the seniors and the teachers. That's a big day around here because that is National college decision day. So all decisions are done by April 15th, and all acceptances are done by April 15th, and then by May 1st is when you have to notify the school that you are attending that school. One other thing we forgot to put up here, instant decision days. A lot of them you're able to go to the school and they do interviews and you bring all your information with you and they will give you an answer right then and there. Several schools have done that in the past. I think Stockton is still doing it, and that's really a neat thing. You kind of go there, you meet with some representatives, you do a little interview, a little group interview, you present them with your information, you go on a little tour, you have lunch, and then they give you your decision. So that's instant immediate decision day. That you have to meet certain criteria in order to be eligible for that, and we can go over that information with you. Or it's going to be on the school websites as well. Okay? And SWOT essays.
I'm going to just see if I can find, where would they be in the Common App? Writing. Okay, so here's the essay page on the Common Application. Common Application provides 5 topics. They want you only to choose one, and they want you to write on that. They give you a limit in terms of words. There's constraints, okay? Nothing leads to a smart aleck answer from me quicker than the student coming into my office for a check-in and saying, listen, I'm almost done. I just have to write my essay. If that's where you're at, you're not almost done, okay? I firmly believe that the essay is never supposed to be the last step. Most applications do put it at the end, but it needs to be a part of the process that you're working on the whole time. Okay? I strongly encourage students as they begin the application process to check out their Common Application account if they're using it, to establish the application accounts at every college that they are applying to, because sometimes you cannot see the essay question until you've logged in and started the application process. What are all the essays? How many different questions can you get away with answering? Sometimes you get lucky and a very similar question is asked by 2 schools, okay? Caution you to be very careful reusing essays because you have to be sure that they don't mention the wrong school or mention the wrong thing. But what I tell students to do with the essay is once you've figured out how many different questions you're going to have to answer, or if you have a situation like the Common App provides where you have several topics that you can choose from, I encourage students to open up a document for every single essay question. I recommend that before you do anything else, you begin to brainstorm ideas into this document about how you might answer that question. And you might sit down that first day and get started with that process and get not very far. But then 2 weeks later, when you're emptying the dishwasher, this thought will occur to you like, that would be such a cool way for me to answer that question. Because you've already started thinking about it, it's in the back of your head, okay? You should share the essay questions with your parents. They want you to find a way to answer the question that's... How many of you watch Peanuts cartoons? Charlie Brown, wah, 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 wah. After a while, I've proofread many essays for students, and it's really a shame because when you read a certain number of them, they do all sort of sound alike. You want to be able to find a topic, find a situation, find something that you care about that allows you to introduce who you are to the college in a little bit of an unusual way. No student should ever sit down and pound out a college essay in half an hour and press print or press submit. That's a lousy essay. You should be living with it for a while. So get those essays open in the applications as soon as you know where you're applying and start thinking about them. Start talking about it over the dinner table. They want me to talk about the person who had the most influence on me. You know, I know it's a little bit of a lie, but try to say somebody besides mom or dad. You know what I mean? Try to answer the question in a different way. Your family can help you brainstorm. Your friends can help you brainstorm. Work on those and care about them. We all realize it's not an enjoyable part of the application process, but it is important. If some college applications won't include essays. If they ask you to write one, they're going to read it and they're going to care about it. Okay, and they're going to want that, you know, colleges that have essays as part of their application process are interested in that personal part of the student. If you have an area of your application that's maybe a little weak, if your GPA is maybe a little lower than that college wants, if your test scores are maybe a little lower than that college wants, if you charm them with your essay, you've taken a huge step toward being accepted. So think about that as a part of the admissions process that you have total control over. Okay? I don't know if there's anything else.
Yeah, no, we talked about that. Can make it break it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Next up is, all right, so when we were deciding who was going to talk about what topics, we handed them all out. Each of us took a topic. This topic, we just said we all have to talk about. We've been taking a lot of time, so we don't want to spend much time on it, but there's just many elements of testing that are important. When do you take them? How do you report the scores? How do you prepare for them? What about the old versus the new? The essay is now optional on the SAT. I mean, there's so much to talk about. I'll take the first bullet. Seniors are encouraged to take the SAT again in the fall. Okay, statistically, there's some evidence that maybe your score goes up a little bit in the fall. That's an overall thing, not a guarantee for every person. Colleges also sometimes just want to see that you gave it another shot. I once heard a college admissions rep reviewing like a bogus transcript, kind of just to give us an example of how they look at it. And this particular student had taken the SAT once. And I remember the college officer saying, well, why didn't they take it a second time? Why didn't they engage in the process? They want to know you're trying. They promise us repeatedly that they look at your highest score. Okay, everyone's worried. Well, if I take it again in the fall and my score goes down, that's going to hurt me. They promise us that it doesn't. Do you agree?
They say 99% of them super score, which means they'll take your highest combination because you demonstrated it one time or another, so they're still going to take that highest set. The only thing is on the bottom, you'll see that if you took the January SAT, which was the last time, that was the old SAT.
How many of you did that? How many of you tested in January or earlier? Yeah. Okay.
All right, that's all right. Some of you did that. That's fine. They'll look at that, but they will not super score that with a March or a November or a December or another one because the tests are very different, like I said earlier. So that's the only problem. It's okay you took it because you may have done better on that. They'll look at that, but they'll only super score the same test. So if you took anything from March on, they will super score it. One thing I wanted to mention is well too. We do have a prep course. Do you want to mention that?
Yes. Yeah, I'll show you. We have students can enroll. We brought the information up. The SAT prep course is going to begin next Wednesday, September 14th. If you go to the High Point website and go to the Adult and Community Education page off that top list, it brings you right to this application. Okay, so there is a course right now. It will take the students through the October and into the November tests. We also strongly recommend for students who want to just do a little bit more practice independently, I just Googled Khan Academy SAT. Khan Academy has partnered with College Board, and College Board has given Khan Academy tons and tons of questions. There's full-length tests, there's practice in each of the topics, there's tips and strategies. This is all available free of charge at Khan Academy.
Yeah, take advantage of that. I mean, if you can get the college, the course in, that's great. It's $100. That's a pretty big win-win when you consider looking at Princeton Review and some other courses that are going to run you, $700, $800, $900. So it's $100. It takes you right up to that November 5th SAT. So it's going to be fresh in your mind. They give you practice courses, practice tests throughout. So it's pretty valuable. And if anything, it relieves some anxiety for you.
Quick thing about the essay being optional. We encourage all students to test with the essay. If you've already taken the test and gotten a decent score on the essay, then you can certainly omit it the next time you test if you're happy with your essay score. But we With the test being new, we don't have a lot of information about how colleges are going to want you to handle the test. So we've asked students to please be sure, at least on one of the test administrations, they do the essay so that in case they apply to a college that requires it, they're covered.
Yeah, there are some schools that are there are some that are test optional, and that's complete. We just talked about a school, Montclair. Some of our state schools are going test optional, and that's really up to you. I mean, certainly if your scores are questionable, talk with us about that. We can often work with you on that. You know, it is really important to talk with us. We have contact with a lot of the reps, a lot of the admission representatives, especially in the New Jersey schools. We speak with them a lot, you know, very often, so we could get a feel for whether or not, you know, talking to them, whether or not it's advantageous or disadvantageous for you to submit your scores. But more and more schools are looking, you know, thinking that, you know, the SAT is not as much of a predictor as they think. They really, and that is the most important thing. The most important thing is your academic record. They will all say that, whether you believe it or not, that academic record, those courses you've taken since grade 9, that ranked GPA established via taking those courses, that is the most important factor. The SAT, the ACT, their popularity really is because how do they compare the #1 student from rural Sussex County to the #1 student from urban Newark, let's say? They like that. That's why the schools like that, because it is the only constant they have. So that's why so many of the schools still are with that, and some of them do feel it is that predictor of college success. But again, the most important predictor is that transcript. So please do discuss that with us as you're deciding whether or not to submit your scores, if indeed the college is test optional. Yeah, you need to send your scores. We cannot send your scores. They feel there can be tampering, things can be changed, things can be played around with. So scores need to be sent directly from College Board or ACT. We're neglecting ACT, actually. Sorry about that. ACT is basically a competitor of SAT. They are two very different companies. We believe SAT has changed a little bit. It involves ACT. They're a business. They're just businesses, and they're doing their best to compete and make the most money they can. ACT is it's a different test, not as different anymore. The SAT is kind of getting a little closer to that. But it's the only thing that's different with the ACT is we do not offer it here at High Point. We offer the SAT here, but we do not offer the ACT. It's given at Vernon, Sparta. Is that the only place it's here? Vernon, Sparta. Oh, Tech maybe. But that's all on actstudent.org. Little, different tests. It's more achievement-based. It's more broad. It covers a few more topics. We have prep books available for both of these tests in guidance, so please feel free to come in and take that. But even these as well, you need to send your scores from ACT or from SAT directly from the companies, okay? They want them directly. Of course, they charge for that, unless when you apply for the SAT or up to 10 days after you take the test, you can put down up to 4 schools, and then it's free. Well, it's not really free, it's included in your cost of taking the test. So these companies make enough money. So please, I feel horrible after we tell the kids this, and then they come and they're like, oh, I forgot to send my scores. Then it's going to cost you like $12. Is that what it is now? It's a score. So if you can do it when you apply for the test, or 10 days after you take the test, add those schools, up to 4 schools. It's free. Otherwise, you're going to get hit with it later on, okay? So that is so important. We cannot send your scores. We would love to, but as of late, really, there's very few schools that will take it on the transcript. Used to take it on the transcript, but they want everything official now, okay? Fee waivers. Yeah, we do have fee waivers if you are on any kind of a reduced lunch, or if there's any kind of issues, please speak to us, and we do have fee waivers for taking the SAT or the SAT. Please speak with us individually about that.
I'm trying to figure out how much they cost, but I can't find it. When you go to send them, they'll definitely...
Is it 11? It's $11. Okay. See, I assumed I automatically assumed that they were going to be going up, so I assumed that's 12. But yeah, it was 10, so now it's 11. Could be 12 soon, but at this point, so like I said, please, please, please make sure. That's why it's important to get out there and visit open houses, talk to the reps, so you have an idea of where you want to apply, so you can put that on when you are registering. And then they will send your complete record as well. So if you're putting down, if you're taking it in October and then you take it in November, the November will include your October scores, your March scores, and that's when they can super score, because they can look and say, oh, in March you got a 480 and then in reading, and then in the fall you got a 550 in reading. They'll be able to pick the highest set from that. So when you send your scores, they will automatically look at the highest set and give you a score based on that.
Okay, each student should have a conversation with their counselor about the timing of all of this. It is one of the most tricky things that we do in planning in the fall with our students. At this point, the SAT having changed, it takes them a little longer to get the score reports out, okay? So students who test on October 1st, those test scores will not be sent to colleges until October 26th. And we're not sure, because we know we live in the year 2016, but it still can take the SAT, the College Board, weeks to deliver scores to certain colleges. It certainly doesn't happen overnight. It's not like going into your bank account and transferring money where it's instantaneous. For some reason, the transmission of scores from College Board to colleges can take days. Certain colleges, it can take over a week. Okay? So if you have a November 1st deadline that you're shooting for, we hope that your October 1st SAT scores will arrive on time. We advocate a lot of communication with the admissions counselors, a lot of communication with your guidance counselor, so that we can help you coordinate this. If you were planning on taking the November 5th SAT, scores will not be sent until November 28th. That's basically button up against Thanksgiving, I have to think. So if you're working against a December 1st deadline, your scores may be late. Colleges sometimes will say, listen, if everything else is in by the deadline, we understand College Board has to send your scores. Some colleges are like, sorry. So you really need to know where you're applying and what their policies are. We strongly encourage you to call an admissions counselor from the college to discuss this dilemma. It is too late to register for the October test without paying a late fee. You have until, I believe, September
20. We talked about that the other day at the senior meeting. September 20th is online.
So September 20th is the late registration deadline. Please take a look at your colleges and what kind of deadlines you're trying to meet, and maybe you'll decide that even though you have to pay the late fee, getting in for the October 1st test is still worth it. Okay? Yeah. All right. Do we have anything else to say there?
Okay. I'm going to talk to you briefly about scholarships. The scholarships that we're going to focus on right now are scholarships that are specifically coming from the colleges you're applying to. Before it was mentioned about the SAT or the ACT being an optional thing to submit or even do for some colleges. You will see that let me go back. Every college admissions page is going to give you all the information you need to know on how to apply to that school. It's where your application information is it Common App or isn't it? Do they require letters of recommendation, and if so, how many? The tests are there as well. Are they a test optional school or aren't they? There are some schools, I was looking at TC&J today with this student, no? Yes. And I don't know, maybe it wasn't. Some schools that are test optional will say, you don't need to send your scores for us to determine your admissions, but if you want to apply for these scholarships, your scores have to be there. So when we're relating to scholarships specifically coming from a college, okay, so this is, you are a student that's applying, you're submitting your application, you want to know what kind of money will they give me. So for some schools, test scores become important even if they're not factored into your admissions decision. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind and to be mindful of when you're looking at the requirements of your college. All colleges, state and private, offer scholarships of some kind. Every one of them will have a little bit of a different method as to how you apply for them, or how can you be considered for them. The majority will just use your college admissions application, and they won't ask you to do additional applications. Although there might be some, I know Ramapo has some listed on their scholarship page under the financial aid webpage of the site that might say, if you want to apply for this scholarship for the science department, you need to fill out an additional application. When you're applying for scholarships from the college, are test scores needed? Is there a certain deadline that I need to have my application in by? That may or may not be the deadline that the school is asking you to submit it by. So those are all things that you want to just be on the lookout for. We're going to have a financial aid night November 7th at 7 o'clock right here. On that night, we're going to talk about the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. There have been changes with the FAFSA, so for anybody that has older siblings that are in college, whether it's the county college or a four-year school, you would have filled out that FAFSA January 1st and after. The FAFSA deadline is now in October. It's been moved up. So we're going to talk about those changes, what it means, what you need to do on that night. Also on that night, I'm going to talk to you more about scholarships outside of what you can find on the college webpage. Where else do you locate them, and what do you need to do to apply for them?
Just take a look at this and click there. Look at the part that says, if you want to be considered for merit scholarships, your application needs to be in sooner. Yeah. And that's just your generic college application. So even so you need to be paying attention to these pages as well, because you may think, oh, I have until January or February to apply to Ramapo, and when you do that, you've missed consideration for their scholarship.
A lot of times for the colleges, they are merit scholarships, so they're basing them on your grades. So your transcript, your report card, and possibly that test score. So you're not necessarily doing anything in addition to applying. You're just sending something in, in Ramapo's case, by a certain deadline. So you want to pay attention to it. So when you're looking at your webpage for your colleges, you're looking at admissions for that information, you want to take a little stopover in the financial aid webpage. The other thing, when you're visiting your colleges, you want to talk to somebody in the financial aid office, because next to admissions, they're your best friends. So you want to get as much information as you can in terms of scholarships and what's available to you as an incoming student. Yep.
Okay, we're just going to wrap it up and with the community college. And before I do, I just want to mention we're going to have questions right after that. I finished with community college, and our supervisor, Mrs. Lembo, is going to, as we're talking about that, she's going to hand out some evaluation forms for you. If you wouldn't mind just jotting down a few comments, so we can obviously make our programs better based on your comments. Community colleges, just going to wrap it up with that because we didn't want to neglect that. We work very closely with Sussex County Community College. They're very big support of our association and the guidance counselors. You just apply the same way, scc.edu, sussex.edu, sorry. Their requirements are a little different. You need to apply there, obviously, and normally they'll waive the application fee for our students. They'll be at our mini college day. And Mr. Todd Poldersdorf, who is the director of admissions there, will waive the application fee for anyone who sees him on that day. And often he comes here and does an on-site visit as well, and you can apply then. You do need to either present SAT scores or take the AccuPlacer, which is just the basic skills testing. That's required for any New Jersey school as well, so we can give you more information on that. Many of our students do opt for that. What they've done in the past several years, which has made the community colleges a little bit more desirable for students, is you can go there for 2 years and you get your degree from there, and you pass your courses, you do well, you are automatically accepted at any other New Jersey school as a junior. So basically, you're getting your associate's degree from a New Jersey community college, you are accepted at any other New Jersey college. They've signed agreements, and there's a website that's called NewJerseyTransfer.org where you can go along and plot your way. So you can go and say, I'm taking this is going to transfer. You also can work with the folks at SCC. Like I said, they're wonderful, and it's for a lot of students, it just makes a little more financial sense for them, and that's a decision you make as a family, as opposed, what you'd like to do. It is recommended you go for the 2 solid years because they like to take the whole degree. They like that associate's degree. They transfer it, you're a junior. Many of our students have done that. They've come back and said they got it done in 4 years. And that's even hard to do at a 4-year college, getting it done in 4 years. But they've done it, maybe taking an extra course here or there. So there's the website, and that's something, they also have a lot of open houses, so take a look up there as well.
Sometimes students say, I'm not sure, I might go to county. So the way we encourage students to handle that is, if you have an interest in potentially attending a 4-year college right away, go through the application process with us. That happens in the fall. That has to happen now. We strongly encourage students, really no matter what the deadlines are, to be done with your college applications by winter break.
Yeah.
Be done by the
Christmas,
end of December. So see what happens. See if you get any scholarship money. See how the financial aid comes through. The community college applications are automatic acceptance. So you can process a community college application in a few weeks. You can apply to the community college in March or April when you say, you know what, it's just not going to work out for us to get to Montclair this year. I'm going to need to start at Sussex County. That's fine, but the processes can happen alongside each other. So we encourage the students to, go ahead and give it a shot for the other application process,
Absolutely.
knowing that no matter how it ends up working out or what you decide, we can always help you with the Sussex County or the Morris County application quickly and easily in the spring.
And right. And then that's true. Some students will start at a 4-year and then come back. So again, the county college is always there for you. We do encourage you though, if you do want to transfer, these are transfer schools, so it is easier to transfer. Like if you do 2 years at Montclair, it might be a little more difficult to transfer all those credits over to another 4-year, because that's 4-year to 4-year. 2-year to 4-year, they're transfer schools. Their credits are meant to transfer. So please do speak with them about it, or about with us. We'll be happy to answer any questions about that. The one other thing I want to mention, the STARS program. If you are top 15% of your class at the end of junior year or the end of senior year, you are entitled to go to the county college for free, and then it's called STARS 2, and then you are entitled to go there. At any New Jersey school, New Jersey State school, you'll get a few extra dollars for attending that as a STARS 2. But you need to be top 15% at the end of your junior year or the end of your senior year in order to be eligible for the New Jersey STARS. But by design, the county colleges are very affordable, so even if you are not a star, maybe you can get a couple of scholarships along the way, and it really does defray the cost, and it's amazing to compare that cost to some other costs. But again, it's an individual decision, family decision, work on that any way we can help you. We're more than happy to be there for you along the way. Okay?
I'm sorry, I know you've been sitting here a long time. I have one thing that I want to show you while there are parents in the room. We show this to students on the Colleges tab on Naviance. At the bottom of the page, there is a link called Scholarship List. This is the High Point Scholarship Application List, meaning anything that comes into our guidance office from outside organizations. At this point in the year, there are 2 applications on the list. It is very, very early. So what I want to show you, I logged into the admin side. This is the scholarship list. You'll notice all of them are labeled inactive in red. As we get the updated application from each of these organizations for the 16-17 school year, we will reactivate them. You can see the American Institute of Architects has already been reactivated. But what I want to show you parents is the length of the list of scholarships, which at some point in the year are likely to be posted on our website through Naviance. There are tremendous opportunities here for students. I said just a minute ago that we like students to be done with their college applications before Christmas. That's because when you come back in January, a lot of these scholarship applications begin to be posted, and you have the time to devote to the other part of the process, which is the scholarship application process. The Naviance program allows you to click right in, and we upload the applications right into the program. Applications are available directly through this. So there is a tremendous scholarship resource available for both parents and students. It's really a great way for the parent to help the student with the process. You can go into the Naviance account and search for the applications, and then print them out and hand them to your kid to fill in.
Yes.
Okay, questions? Yes, ma'am.
The FAFSA deadline you said was October?
It's open in October. It used to be that you were not allowed to do anything with the FAFSA until after January 1st. They kind of held you back. What they've done this year is they have opened it up as early as October, and they've changed some of the income reporting guidelines, which are making it easier for families to fill it out earlier, which means you get an answer earlier in terms of how much you are going to be expected to provide towards your child's college education.
Deadline is still around January then, but it's
The deadline will be different for every individual school. The schools will have different deadlines by which they want the FAFSA completed based on the timeline in their financial aid department awarding the aid. Generally speaking, there's a pile of money, and they hand it out, and you want them reviewing your financial information when the pile's still big. So we would recommend that the earliest that you could possibly get the FAFSA completed and submitted to the colleges, the better off you're going to be. Yes?
Shouldn't that November 7th meeting be in September then, so we can do it right away in October?
They just changed that recently. That was just a recent change, and it's been on the calendar.
If you get started with it and you have questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to one of us. Most of us can answer questions.
And also, Sussex County Community College, even if you have no interest in that college, they are our county college. Their financial aid office can answer any questions as well. Even if you're not applying there, they'll offer you help as well.
You can also go, there's a link for the FAFSA site off of High Point's guidance webpage. It's FAFSA.ed.gov, something like that. If you go on that page, you won't be able to access the application for FAFSA yet because it's not open until after October 1st. But there is a worksheet on there, and it'll tell you all the information that you'll need to know or to begin to start gathering in order to fill out the FAFSA form. One of the reasons why, when I visited a bunch of colleges last year and the FAFSA was brought up by a lot of different people, is that part of the problem that they were seeing is that by doing the FAFSA from January, which has been done that way for years, it required that families have their taxes done from that previous year, which is not easy to do for January 1st when that application opens. And then by the time you get your application package, it's kind of hard in terms of when you're hearing from your colleges and whether or not you've been accepted. All the decisions are coming in around the same time. If you have no idea what money you're getting from a college because they haven't told you yet, colleges were starting to see that people weren't going. And a lot of it is because they were taking whichever financial decision they got sooner and whosever money they thought they had more of. So they pushed this deadline to October to give families an opportunity to get it in sooner because it's no longer, so this is, you're going to be a student in the 2017-18 college year. Your taxes for the FAFSA are not coming from the 16 year, but from the 15 year. I believe that's how it's working. So your taxes are done, which is allowing you to submit that form sooner, which then allows the college to get you a financial aid decision sooner, so you know what money you're working with, and you can truly compare college to college when you're making those decisions. So go to the FAFSA page. If you find a page that is asking you for money, you're in the wrong spot. FAFSA is a government document. It is a free application for you to complete. So make sure you're on the right page.
So
You shouldn't pay for scholarships either. Do not pay for any scholarship.
Yes, yeah, do not pay for any of those scholarship sites. Very often parents say, I just got this information, I can meet with this representative, or, but everything is found on websites, through our offices, through the colleges. You never should be paying money to get money. Yes?
How do you upload external letters of recommendation?
If they're coming from the outside, like not from a teacher, usually what we say is for whoever the recommender is, so if it's an employer or somebody from the community, like a community service organization, to email the letter directly to the counselor, and then we have a way of uploading it into Naviance that's separate from the teachers.
So can it be a scanned PDF emailed in?
Yes,
or has
as
to
long as
be-
it's clear and easy to see. And if it's coming from the outside, if the person that's writing it has letterhead from their organization, tell them to use it. If they don't, create some kind of header for their letter on the top, because a lot of colleges will ask for letters that have some kind of official paper that it's on, so they know that it's coming from a legitimate person, not something that somebody just decided to create.
Did you have a question back there?
One was answered, but the other one was, for college visits, they are given excused absence for that, or?
Correct. They're given four, and for the community college, they're given a half a day. Yep. But we do just make sure that they do just bring some evidence that they indeed were visiting a college.
I mean, she wanted to early decision. So my question is, the FAFSA is to start to October 1st, but it won't matter, like, they'll make the decision before or after?
Therein lies your problem with early decision, regardless of when you're making that decision without any knowledge of financial aid. That's why it's a difficult decision. I think that's the biggest stumbling block for most people, because often the early decision colleges are they're obviously the more competitive, the more expensive ones a lot of times. So you have to make that decision without any knowledge of what you're going to get or not get. So that's what's difficult. Yes?
I got a question for you. What's the penalty for backing out of an early decision college?
I'm not going to say it's never happened. And that's basically the only way that they do kind of accept it is if someone does come up and say, you know what, we just can't make this work financially. That is the only time. I mean, they're not going to come after you. They're not going to charge you the first tuition. It's just something we tell the kids. It's a contract. We try not to break it. But I have had a student in the past, because we even sign a contract too, that we've spoken to the student and we've told them that this is a contract. It's fine, But there have been a couple of times where students thought they were thinking they might get some more. They thought family situation, and that's really the only way they do let them back out of it. But there is no penalty per se. Okay. Well, we want to thank you so much you've been a great audience. We really appreciate it. Mrs. Lembo did give you information. Please help yourselves to coffee and water, and Mrs. Lembo has the evaluations there. Like I said, please email us, please call us, send the kids in to see us. We're here to help. Thank you.